You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Melissa to rapidly intensify near Jamaica before making a likely landfall on tonight's live tropical weather bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical weather bulletin for October 25th. Obviously, the main story right now is Tropical Storm Melissa, which is inching closer to Jamaica and inching closer to hurricane status. No warnings, at least as of yet, although the advisory will be coming out at this update, which obviously I don't have the info on. Obviously, we'll cover that as soon as this pre-record finishes. Elsewhere, there's a lot going on in the Indian Ocean still at this point, and in the Western Pacific, there could be a system on the horizon. So there's Melissa, tropical storm warning for Haiti and the whole island of Jamaica. Melissa, of course, strengthening at this point on day 147 of Atlantic hurricane season. In the Eastern Pacific, Tropical Depression 18E has formed. It's going to be continuing towards the west-northwest, out to sea, not really affecting anything. So, a late season, a little bit of action there in the Eastern Pacific. In the Western Pacific, we've got an area of interest that we're looking out for in a few days' time that will be entering the South China Sea in between Palawan in the Philippines and the coast of Vietnam. Could develop. Low chance at this point, though, 20%. However, areas that look like they might develop are in the North Indian Ocean. Two systems in the Bay of Bengal starting to get more favourable chances. The one in the Bay of Bengal, the North Indian Ocean, the one in the Bay of Bengal is now at a 70% chance of developing, and the one in the Arabian Sea, 40% chance. Both of them are looking more decent and potential for forming on either side of India. In the southern hemisphere, another unusual system, Cyclone Chenj, is moving through part of the Seychelles right now and heading towards the coast of Africa. Another area of interest far behind it now. We've marked L10, it's Invest 95S, looks like it is dead. In the South Pacific, things are looking fairly quiet at this point. Really very little to talk about in this area, so obviously we're going to be going on to what we really want to talk about on tonight's bulletin, which is what we're live for. It is, of course, Tropical Storm Melissa. Latest position right now, 16.1 north, 74.7 west. It's always difficult doing these bulletins at the same time as the NHC update because, like I said, on these intros, I do them pre-recorded, so I don't have that latest info, but we'll obviously be segueing into that in a second. As of right now, though, it is 235 kilometers from Port Salut in Haiti, 265 from Morant Bay, Jamaica, 307 from Kingston, 368 from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and 430 from Montego Bay. The storm is currently moving very, very slowly northwards. The National Hurricane Center forecast is calling for a high-end Category 4 landfall on the coast of Jamaica on Tuesday. That goes without saying that it would be an extraordinary, powerful landfall, but look how big the cone is. Still a huge amount of wiggle room there in both track and intensity, but it's not looking very good right now. Rainfall expectations are also rather high for eastern Jamaica there, getting up to the 20 to 30 inch range. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you're always in touch with the latest tropical cyclone updates, as well as following us on social media. And you can also join our Discord server for tropical weather chat at any time on discord.gg/force13. So there we have it. Sorry about the abrupt change there, I cannot help it. This is our live update on Tropical Storm Melissa right now. 65 mile per hour winds, 992 is what we went with on the update. National Hurricane Center came out with their update as well, and it's quite similar, 65 miles per hour, 993. I'm intrigued by that. I reckon it could have squeezed out another millibar from the Recon drops on data. But no changes to the warnings, so we still have a hurricane watch in effect and a tropical storm warning for Jamaica, the entirety of the island, and for southwestern Haiti extending to Port-au-Prince. So really no changes from what we've already been telling you. Of course, what we will be talking about tonight on the stream is quite a few things to do with how the storm is doing right now. Live satellite imagery in front of us here. Recon are in the storm as well at this point, so we'll be able to give you updates on what they're finding. Interestingly, in the more recent passes that coincided with the 8 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, they were finding that those winds have not been that impressive, which I was very surprised to see. Earlier, when we had a recon pass closer to the 5 p.m. advisory, or a little bit earlier than that, which yielded the 65 mile per hour update, they were finding some stronger winds, and I thought that it would progress on to this point where I reckon they would have probably found maybe hurricane force flight level winds at this point. That has not yet materialized as far as I know. And you can probably see why, because the wind shear is just having one more little bite into the storm there as we look at this latest satellite imagery. Along that western side, still looking pretty poor. It is a matter of time until that wind shear completely loosens its grip on Melissa, and at that point it really looks like we're going to be seeing a sustained period of potentially very rapid intensification, given how it doesn't have a proper core yet, but it could have a small core when it finally forms, and at that point, over these extremely warm Caribbean waters, huge amounts of oceanic heat content underneath. If you've been watching recent bulletins, a huge amount of energy for this storm to tap into. It's been untapped pretty much the whole year through, so late season storms like this in the Caribbean can be difficult at the best of times, but this one especially so in more ways than one. The track forecast, the intensity forecast, the intensity potential on this storm is unfortunately very high. There's another look, and we can slow things down now at the National Hurricane Center forecast cone and really digest what we're looking at here. And you can see that the cone is huge. I'm hoping we've still got our feed right now. I think one of my screens is glitching out and it's just showing a black screen. I think we're showing everything here, but the cone is huge there, going out to that 5-day period, and even Haiti, of course, in that whole area is still within that cone as well, if we potentially look at a more easterly scenario. And on that western side, the eastern part of the Cayman Islands is just off the edge of the cone by the time we get to Tuesday into Wednesday. Let's cross over to a few viewpoints that we've got right now whilst I introduce the team. With us right now, we have a few people who you'll recognize. Christian, Ethan and Maury, hello to all of you. How are we doing tonight?
Good evening.
Good afternoon. Evening here. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's not afternoon, Ethan.
Well, technically it is. It's just, really afternoon.
Okay, Christian. Excellent.
Because it is afternoon, which is after 12, but still.
Okay, wonderful. Your thoughts on Melissa right now? Who shall we talk to first? Let's talk to Ethan first, because you're showing us your own brand of graphical output there as well, which I'm also a fan of. I'm just trying to get it onto the screen. Everything's broken down. Is it this button?
Other people first. I gotta be just a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's our automated stream. That's also running at the same time. So when we're not live streaming this commentary, you'll be able to take a look at the automated stream. It will redirect there after we're finished tonight. I had set up hoping to get screen's working. There we go. We got Maury's screen with us right now. Maury, you've got overlaid the latest recon data there.
Yeah, so we are seeing 2 recon flights in the storm right now. Both of the recon flights, one of them hasn't really received any tropical storm, well, a little bit of tropical storm force winds. You can see in the northeastern quadrant.
I'm unsure if that's by that.
Yeah, I'm unsure if that's because, they're at a high elevation. I'm not sure what that's about, but the other recon flight...
That would make even less sense, Maury. Usually the stronger winds are higher up.
Yeah, you're right about that. So I don't know what the reason is, but going to the other recon mission, that seems like it's a little more sensible, I guess you could say. Like
Sensible. They're
there
lower,
is
so at the 750 millibar level, and the other one was at the 700 millibar level, indicating they're still 42 knots their peak. Really that low?
I don't think it is the peak. I
Oh,
think their peak was
48.
48.
48.
48. It was 48.
But still, I'm very surprised because the earlier recon flight from today was getting, I think they got like 59 knot flight level winds. So it's dropped again quite significantly, which I was not expecting to see. I don't know whether or not that is good news because Melissa still has bags of time, and you can see on that forecast overlaid there as well, it's going to be heading off towards the west, category 4, and do not mess with the Caribbean at this time of year on a slow moving storm like this, moving over all of that extremely warm water. All of the modeling, I think, Ethan, you'll know more about the modeling situation, how many of them are calling for major plus pretty much every one of them.
Yes, all of them. Whenever you talk about this time of year, regardless of where you are, you've really got big hurricane history. Of course, you've got 10 years ago in the Eastern Pacific, we just had Patricia. You've got Wilma in this time frame too, in a very similar region, albeit west of Jamaica. You've got Hagibis. It was in October, I think, early October in the Western Pacific. Yeah. Of course, there's loads more in October in the Western Pacific, but also for the Indian Ocean too. It's a big month and big time for weather.
The transition months. That's when quite often the strongest storms happen.
Yep.
Some of the strongest storms in world history have occurred in the month of October. But in looking back at the Atlantic Caribbean region, though, I mean, there's a few other examples there. It's the anniversary of Sandy making its strongest landfall on Cuba, Category 3. It's not especially long since Matthew, which some people have been comparing this storm to.
Let's not forget, we were dealing with the Category 5 landfall right now, 2 years ago. Otis.
Oh, Eastpak, yeah. But just thinking about the Caribbean,
I was there for that.
Yeah,
I was there for that. And that was a worst case scenario for Acapulco, and I can say without a doubt that Melissa, we're seeing right now for Jamaica, is 10 times worse than that. I'm going to say outright.
Okay.
The threat that we're seeing with Melissa compared to past hurricanes that I've seen is extreme. You're talking about a hurricane that's going to be moving through these areas for the next 4 to 5 days of heavy rainfall, storm surge, winds, the whole package of a major Category 4, probably a Category 5 hurricane over these regions for 5 days potentially. Let that sink in. I don't think that's ever happened before to anyone. Of course, back in 2019, you had Dorian over the northern Bahamas. That was only for like 2 or 3 days, I think, maximum.
It's an absolute forecasting nightmare from the beginning to where we are right now. Tell you what, though, they could have done a lot worse with the forecasting so far. Early forecasts had the storm, I think, near its peak now as a hurricane. Obviously that changed, but they're slowly getting a handle on this really high intensity forecast, and they've been forced to do that by what some of the models are saying. Ethan, which ones are the ones that are going all out right now?
Probably the HAFSB, probably.
Again, it actually mellowed out yesterday, and I guess it may have just gone nuts again, has it?
137 knots max right into Jamaica. Yeah, 137 knots maximum.
Okay. We'll take a look at all of those models properly a little bit later on. Of course, we will have an update. We'll go through the models worldwide on the GFS, but let's go to the there's a tropical storm wind field forecast, wind speed probabilities or wind field probabilities. Cayman Islands there, Grand Cayman, just on the edge of the 20% to 30% area. And then, of course, looking at Jamaica, pretty much assured, and part of the coast of Haiti as well. Cuba, those chances really getting up as well. But also, let's go to the key messages. These are always very important. Let's just read these key messages off from the National Hurricane Center, what they're thinking are the biggest points. So, due to Melissa's slow motion, a prolonged multi-day period of damaging winds and heavy rainfall resulting in potentially catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides likely to begin late Saturday or Sunday. Increasing risk of life-threatening storm surge when the center of Melissa nears Jamaica early next week. Preparation to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. In Haiti, heavy rainfall will result in catastrophic flash flooding as well, and landslides across southwestern Haiti into early next week. Extensive damage to roads and buildings expected, potentially isolating communities for an extended period of time. Immediate preparations to protect life and property should be taken. Strong winds could also potentially last for a day or more over the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti to the east. Dominican Republic, heavy rainfall could produce potentially catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides in southern portions of the country. Eastern Cuba and the Bahamas, interests in these areas should monitor the progress of Melissa, since there is an increasing risk of a significant storm surge. I think that goes without saying, looking out towards those areas afterwards, but that is still a fair way down the line.
It has to be said, though, I wish that that all of these model tools that we have and everything, we look at all the total accumulated precipitation across many model runs and everything, and even on many websites and everything, they all have different scales. And I've been looking at like various models, and across the board, any website that you go to for models, they're all maxed out for Jamaica's rainfall, every single one.
Okay. Which model, though?
You pick it.
Okay.
Literally, pick it.
Well, obviously, when we do on the viewer that we've got, WSV3, which shows the GFS runs, I've adapted that scale so it actually doesn't max out. Earlier, it was saying, bearing in mind, GFS is still going for very much an easterly scenario, where it just clips the eastern coast of Cuba, stalls at Jamaica, and stalls at the same time. And the rainfall it was projecting, Ethan, was 43 inches over land, which is
oh my goodness, dude,
nearly 1,100 millimeters. Of course, the
I think
NHC
that's more than Harvey produced, I think, in Texas.
No, I don't think so.
Either way, it's very, very close to that. I mean, 43 inches of rain. Let that sink in. That is 4.5 feet of rain. That is.
Ooh, hold on. Is it?
I think
so.
that's 2.5 feet. Wait. No, I'm wrong. That's 3.5 feet.
Yeah, nearly. Okay, yeah, you're almost right there. 3.5.
So 3.5 feet. Imagine 3.5 feet on your own body. Like I think I'm like 4'5". I think. I don't know the.
Sorry, what? Just hold on a second. 4'5".
Wow, you're
I don't know the exact number. I don't know the exact number. Okay.
You're more than
I'm
that.
5'7", for example. I'm 5'7", and
Anyway,
like 3
look.
foot would go up to my stomach.
Putting it into perspective.
A lot of rainfall.
Imagine that rainfall compared
probably
to
5'4".
your own body. I imagine probably for most of us, that's probably at least waist deep, and that's probably covering a fair bit of our chests, probably. That is a lot of rain. And keyword, that's just the rain. We got to worry about the storm surge too, the winds and everything too, on top of that.
It is a lot of rain, but I just want to caution, it's not all at the same time. It's over a very prolonged period, but still, it will be very difficult for those areas to cope with that. Of course, sometimes when you get banding over these areas, it can cause that's when the real risk of flash flooding occurs. And let's not forget how little surface water it takes to get swept away when it's fast moving.
You're not even talking about the landslide threat either. That's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, in these areas, completely, because that's
because Jamaica's pretty mountainous, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Oh, totally. All of these islands, really, the eastern part of Cuba as well. Landslide threat, huge on these.
Can I just bring attention to my screen share as well?
Okay.
I should point out this is simulated imagery, courtesy of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
This is what out.
Yeah, well, it's useful. Now, obviously, I want to assume that the weather here is live. Obviously, I've had to wind the clock back a couple of hours to make sure it's daylight over in this part of the world. I'm not sure if, again, the simulator's showing how choppy the waves are. It could be
I think it would be choppier than that. Some would say it's quite a crude way of looking at it. Sometimes the simulator can be not too bad, especially when the bad weather is near an actual weather station that it feeds the data out of. But out at sea, usually, Christian, it's not as good. But
yeah, I gathered. I tried to get as close as I could as possible.
But then again, if you're near the centre, then it probably will look like that. So to be fair.
Well, I tried to go roughly around there. So you're gonna have to guide me towards where the centre is.
Okay.
If you want a truer picture than that.
Speaking of aviation interests in Jamaica, they've already said that whenever the island gets upgraded to a hurricane warning, the airports are closing.
Yeah, well, why not? Absolutely.
So you the second that they issue a hurricane warning, regardless of how conditions it could be clear skies outside.
It probably is quite clear right now, looking at satellite imagery.
Yeah, they could be underneath the hurricane warning right now, and the airport would be closed. So time is running out for you to catch a flight out.
Yeah, that brings up another point. Like, really, there is very little time in order to leave the island. And also, I am aware that many people cannot leave the island. Like, some people just are unable to. So if you have any sort of option to get out of there, I think that would be the best idea. I know some can, there is a big problem with people not being, but also especially with these flights closing, time is definitely running out, and I feel like the deadline would be probably tomorrow morning, I would say.
I am surprised that hurricane warnings haven't been issued so far.
I would agree with that, and I already know that there's a lot of plenty low-cost options to get out of Jamaica. We've got Spirit Frontier, the likes of those that fly here in the U.S. They all fly into Montego Bay. Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
So I don't think they do Kingston, though. So Montego Bay is going to have more flight options than Kingston does, unfortunately. But I think most of Jamaica's population is in Montego Bay, isn't it? Or am I wrong with that?
Kingston.
Well, Kingston's the largest city, but
Kingston,
those are the main two cities in Jamaica.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, that landfall location, if that occurs, is pretty bad. Let's just say that right now, because Kingston there is very close to the, if not inside, the northeastern quadrant maximum winds.
The one good thing that I will say that we've been seeing on model runs that as a shift in the models that have been taking place in the past 2 to 3 days regarding Melissa. You know how we had Hurricane Dorian that basically just sat over land for 2 to 3 days. This isn't. This is going to be sitting over water, and it's still going to be moving very slowly. So, on the one hand, that's good because it's not sitting over a populated area directly, but it's also a bad thing because the waters that it's sitting under are really nice for the storm.
And I mean, I just want to point out as well, I'm not sure what the risk of upwelling is, especially with ocean heat content that is that deep as well.
For this storm?
Yeah.
I mean, normally you would think that a hurricane moving very slowly like this would up water very easily, but the ocean heat content in the waters in these regions is ridiculous. It's basically untapped like the last like I don't know 5 or 6 years. Like I know that we had Hurricane what was its name?
Beryl?
Delta in 2020.
Beryl happened.
Don't remind me.
Beryl happened, but that was dealing with shear in this region though.
Okay.
But you think of Hurricane Delta that exploded in intensity. So just
Don't remind me.
put that into perspective here. If this storm gets a small core,
Yeah.
Delta went from like a tropical storm to a Cat 4 like 18 hours, I think, something like that, maybe less. So
Is that the right storm?
Maury, are you with Recon right now?
Yeah, well, which Recon?
Well, either of them. I'm just wondering if we're getting any clues about what might be going on structurally inside the storm.
We actually... Wait, we just got 54 knot winds.
Okay, well...
That's in the south. That's in the southeastern quadrant.
it doesn't surprise me that these winds are kind of oscillating between these passes. Like you'll have
I'm
one pass
actually
that'll
not
get
seeing
these high winds, and you'll have another
It's
pass
on
that'll
the.
get these high winds.
Unfortunately, this doesn't have the names of what the flight actually is, but it's 1013A.
I'm not seeing on either flight recently them getting
It's
that
a new
kind of
update. I'm pretty
winds.
sure. It's definitely a new update because the
Which
winds were
side?
literally taken 3 minutes ago. Southeastern.
Southeast, so that is going to be AF301.
Yes.
So looking forward to seeing
Here, let me
that.
just
That
present it on my
isn't the
screen.
highest wind speed that they've captured in the storm so far. It is in this flight, but it doesn't, I don't think, beat the previous flight. But that is still a sign there that the storm is fighting back. Ethan, would you agree with my summary earlier on that it's about the maybe the wind shears just having a final bite into the storm there as we look at that satellite?
Well, the wind shear isn't really going to go away completely at all during the storm's entire life.
Really? I thought
It's
it was.
always going to be there. Now it's not going to be anywhere near as high as what it was 24 hours ago, but the wind shear is always going to be there. It's always going to be a threat. Now I know that there's been a little bit of research online from some meteorologists that maybe like these intense hurricanes that we've always had, maybe they do need a little bit of wind shear in the area to help them out. Maybe so. Something to maybe look out for.
Interesting. Let's go.
Again, with the simulator imagery as well, I've changed location, I believe, to be under like quite a lot of cloud cover here. Now, once again, I've wound back the clock to make sure it's actually daylight so we
Hold
can
on.
see.
Give us a
But
second.
if you, okay,
Let's see
Yes?
if this is any better here from Christian, looking at what conditions might look like inside the storm. Well,
yeah. Now, I should again mention, obviously, the waves here are not representative of what they would be. But also, imagine this, but at night. You cannot see a thing.
yeah.
And again, like,
Little bit of
I don't
lightning.
know, a little bit of lightning reflected in the water there. Yeah, and again, this is just, you can't, like, no matter what direction I scroll in, you can't see a thing. Like,
But
you don't know exactly where you're going.
Well,
and,
that
you
will
know.
happen. That is the ocean, Christian,
Yeah, that
in
is-
poor visibility.
Yeah, very poor visibility. But again, imagine this at night.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the visibility would be there. Like,
Even worse if the winds get up, but yeah,
Yeah.
another little crude view there into what you might see inside the storm, looking
Again, I
relatively calm.
yeah, again, is-
Let's see if we can take some comments and questions. Start your message with 413 all in text. You'll be able to, we'll be able to take a look at any times that we've been pinged and stuff. I'm not being very coherent tonight. You know the drill. And we'll read out any thoughts that people have out there. I'm not sure how. Like, if we get some really silly questions, I'm not sure if I'm going to read them out, but we'll see what happens. In a few minutes, we'll probably take a look at what some of the models that I can't show you on WSV3 are showing, including those hurricane models, such as the HAFS variety. and then we'll take a look at what the GFS has got to share with us on this particular endeavor tonight. So let's take a look at one of our first questions. Could Melissa make a landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5? It cannot be completely ruled out. We're currently giving it a 3% chance, which sounds low, but it really isn't. It may sound low, but when you think of probabilities, at this stage it is only a tropical storm. I actually think that percentage might be slightly high, but as the storm strengthens, that possibility may increase. Tropical Storm Barry says, will it hit 180 miles per hour or more? Well, I think it is... The modelling has backed away from that compared to what some of them were saying a few days ago, when they were really going for it. I think it's unlikely. You just never know with the Atlantic, though. The dreadful Atlantic. And there still is some moderate shear over Melissa. Well, that looks pretty clear looking at this satellite imagery. There is still shear making its presence very much felt as we look at this right now. That western side, which is just flaking away there in those latest frames. Convection trying to what is the word that I'm trying to think of right now? Accommodate for that, but it's off towards the east. Recon are in there right now. That convection is also fizzling away a little bit too, but we'll await its next big push, which I imagine will start soon. Could Melissa spawn tornadoes and waterspouts from interacting with the front in the long run? Of course, storms can do that really at any time. The stronger ones, not so much, although around the edges, definitely you can see that possibility, especially if it has some good banding. Right now, it's got a nice little band that's just skirting the eastern tip of Cuba. So always that potential as we continue to watch the storm. I would say later on, when it gets much stronger and a little bit after peak, is probably when the greatest risk of tornadoes will be. Is the storm jogging slightly east, or is it just the shear pushing the convection? That's a good question. Let me try and get a position update here. So Recon haven't been in the center for a little bit, but their last center fix was around 16.1 north, 74.7 west, which I believe is exactly what we ran with at the start of the hour. So I think that's telling us there that this storm is stationary right now. Or near enough. And how large will a storm surge be? Well, if we're talking about a high in Category 4, then we could be looking at storm surge approaching 20 feet, potentially. So it could be a very dangerous storm surge from this storm. So that's the latest statistics on this storm right now. Current estimate, 65 mile per hour winds. Pressure estimate, 992 millibars. Although NHC 1 higher than that. Really very little difference. Although Recon are struggling to find winds that are supporting that 65 mile per hour reading at the moment. Although I think it will come back. And it is pretty much stationary. Ethan.
Sorry, I just had to step away for a second, so I apologize. But I just want to... I know that this is going to be a rather interesting look. Let me see if I can't restart the Pacific 3 to get those
okay.
points back up here. I was wanting to show the forecasted wind radii of the storm.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to make a comment on it, but I can't get the...
I have it if you need.
Oh, here we go. Okay, we got it. Oh, this might be new, actually. Okay, I'm not sure what those are.
New.
Yeah, the points look new. I think that's the new...
Don't forget to tick the wind radii box.
Yeah, I know. But
right.
so this is the current wind radii of Melissa. Okay? So if we measure that from width to width, from west to east, it's roughly, we'll say 150 miles wide. Okay.
So what's being measured there is the tropical storm wind field.
Yes, that is. I think it's Alt A is the. Oh, what's the keyboard shortcut to get the drawing line up? What's the keyboard shortcut?
I think
I
it's
forget what it is.
either Control T or Shift T. I forget which one it is.
Control T.
Oh,
Control T.
not that one then. Shift T. Yes, Ethan, you are drawing.
Nope, it is Control T.
Oh,
but anyway, yeah, it is Control T. But anyway, you'll notice here that if we pull up the forecasted wind radii, these are the NHC's forecast. Look at how much bigger it is. We'll measure it here for, I think this is the forecast point. Look at that, almost double the width.
Yeah.
And that's just the tropical storm force wind field. You know, you think of, if I put back on the initial wind radii, you can see all this convective pattern extends well beyond, here, let me try to see if I can get it to work. All of this convective activity extends well beyond the tropical storm force wind field here. So all of that pattern and all this thunderstorm complex that you're going to be seeing, you know, you got some here, some here, some here. These are all going to extend the effects well beyond the center of circulation. So yes, of course, our main threat is going to be Melissa eventually hooking into Jamaica, something like that, maybe something like that. But you know, Haiti over here is going to get impacts. The Dominican Republic is going to get impacts. Cuba is going to get impacts. Later on down the line, even, we might have some interest for the Turks and Caicos Islands over here, and maybe portions of the Bahamas Islands. And the question does go, where does it go after that? You know, a lot of the models do take it out to sea. Maybe a little bit of a rip current coast here for the U.S. East Coast. But you've also got Bermuda out here. Maybe they might see something from the storm later on. Something to watch, though.
All right, then. That's interesting. Anything else from any of our team right now? Because I'm going to be moving on in just a second here.
Well, I know that a lot of other people online in particular have really been, quote-unquote, sounding the alarm with this storm. If you remember...
Naturally.
Well, it's completely right for them to sound the alarm, to be honest with you. Because if you remember back in, I think it was 2023, or was it last year whenever Helene happened? I'm not sure. It was either 2020
It was last year.
Last year. I apologize.
You lose the track of time.
Last year, many of the computer models indicated that very heavy rainfall event that happened before I'll just call it Melissa, before Helene made landfall in Florida. Many model runs had that happening, and the National Weather Service wasn't picking up on it. I think that we're going to have the same thing here, where we know something really bad is going to happen, and we know it's going to happen, but we can only say so much. You have to take action. That is the utmost concern for me, that people in Jamaica are not taking this storm seriously. This is a storm that is nothing in history regarding, like there's nothing like it basically for Jamaica. This storm is like no other storm in the record books for Jamaica. You know, they've had past hurricanes that have stalled over the island, but you've had nothing like this. You have no idea what you're going to go through. Do you really want to test your luck with that? I know I wouldn't. I get out of Dodge. Don't gamble with your life. Everything else that you have in your life, you know, your house, your car, that can all be replaced. Lives cannot.
Well, the storm certainly has the potential to be stronger and larger than Beryl when it makes landfall, using a recent example there. And even if it doesn't actually make landfall and just hugs the island, it could be doing that for several days at great intensity. So this is something that we're looking at right now. The easternmost scenarios taking the storm just off the coast of Jamaica and along the coast of Haiti as well, which still can't be ruled out for potential hurricane force winds. The westernmost scenarios possibly take it towards the Cayman Islands via Jamaica. Well, let's take a look at some of the other model runs right now. Not the GFS, which we'll be showing you in a second, but I would like to show you.
Before you go to the
Yep.
model runs here, Nathan, I just want to point out this is very, very unlikely to happen, but this is interesting. You've got one model run taking the storm, like a majority of the model runs, but then it loops back off towards the south.
Oh, no.
And probably recurves into the Dominican Republic and somehow ends up near Puerto Rico. That's the model solution.
Hold on a second.
It's that little red line, if you can see it.
It tries to make an infinity
Let me drop the satellite imagery. There it is.
No.
Something plus Lenny equals that track.
But you can see here, I'm not sure what all of these colors are model run wise, but they're all very clustered on Jamaica. Has to be said. They've all clustered in on Jamaica now. You've still got a few ensemble members that still take the storm directly north into Cuba.
Well, are these models or are they ensembles?
These are ensembles, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not sure. This is all through WSP3 and whatnot. So
I imagine it's the GEFS ensembles that we're looking at.
It might be. Let me cross-reference here.
That would be my thought on that. Well,
I'm not seeing anything like that.
I don't know then, but let's take a look at some of the other things, other models, the Hurricane models. They're HWRF. I didn't know that thing was still going. Well, here's what it is showing right now. Initializing the storm at 989 millibars, which is lower than what the storm actually is. Up to hurricane force by very shortly, actually. And then off it goes, reaching the coast of Jamaica on Sunday. And that is a landfall and moving pretty much exactly over Kingston on Sunday afternoon and evening as probably a borderline category 3 at least. And then stalling a bit over land and then moving through towards Cuba. And look at that pressure still in the 950s, larger, landfall again, off it goes northeast. In fact, really hitting some of the southeastern Bahamas as well, probably still a category 3. In fact, it reaches its peak out at sea on its way out after that northeastwards. That's the HWRF model. HMON I think is here as well. Initializing the storm again at 989, which is a bit lower than what it actually is. Again, a hurricane storm. What am I saying here? Hurricane by a couple of hours from now. I don't see that happening. And then strengthening, and that's a slightly stronger scenario there. Pressure into the upper 940s. Landfall again right on that eastern tip of Jamaica Sunday lunchtime. And then really hugging the coast eastern side there. Northeast movement then through eastern Cuba, through probably the Turks and Caicos Islands that time as well, partly. A little bit weaker, and off it goes, becoming a much larger system. Well, the HAFS-A model, this is what they'll be looking at a lot more than the two that we've just shown. And look at the pressure going down there to 916 millibars before it reaches the coast of Jamaica near peak intensity as a 175 mile per hour category 5 storm.
Oh no.
And then it goes northeastwards and much weaker for its second landfall, probably still a category 4 by that point, and then on through some of the Bahamas, probably still a category 3 here, and then continuing northeasterly. That's the HAFSA model, which is still sometimes really crazy. Pressure at landfall around 919, maybe slightly less, but peaked just before landfall there with winds near 175 miles per hour. But that...
the 12Z run had a 908 millibar landfall.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure that they've had stronger runs, but this is just the latest. HAFSB is usually worse, but I don't think it is this time, is it? Very close to the coast again. Oh, that's actually moved eastwards a bit. I'm seeing a bit more consensus here for a little further east. Unfortunately, that pretty much means Kingston. Actually, surprisingly weak there, the HAFSB. It's still a Category 4, mind. Let's not get ahead of ourselves with what we're talking about here. We're still talking about a category 4 here, potentially being a weak scenario, right? And then off it goes northeastwards, weaker, again, through those same areas. I'm actually starting to see quite a bit of model consensus, at least on these lot of models. We're checking the GFS in a minute, so we'll go to the Euro on its 18Z run. Initializes storm actually slightly weaker than it currently is. So there it is, moving on through. Euro, I don't think really does intensity very well, but for track, something to really look at there. Really just threading the needle before it takes that sharp turn somewhere along the coast of Jamaica. And then through it goes. Again, that could also be a strong hurricane. I know it only says 950. Well, that is still quite strong, but it could well be much lower than that if that scenario was to take place as well. What do you think of all that then, guys?
Very interesting.
Scary.
I think that you're right. There is some consensus going on. Like, I think the eastern, like, it's more eastern, definitely the consensus, which puts Kingston at risk. I also think the consensus kind of makes it a little weaker too. So I think that actually is like what the models were initially saying, but like not as far east, but it is reverting back to what more of what the models were initially saying. So that's interesting to note.
So based on what I've just seen then, I would expect here, and this is just my personal thought on this, probably a category 4 landfall in central to eastern Jamaica, a little east of the NHC forecast cone. I'm not sure it will be as strong as what the NHC is forecasting, 150 miles per hour. It certainly could be. I think it will get to category 4, and then who knows how much strength it will have left when it gets to Cuba. That partly hinges upon how much land interaction there is, how much the structure gets affected. Something we got to keep watching very closely. Before we go to the GFS round the world look, Maury, you got any new model data? Recon data?
Oh, yes. Here, let me move back to the screen that I was showing before.
Yeah, take your time.
So there is some more 50 knot winds, 48 knot winds. It doesn't seem like anything's beat out that 54 knot wind thing. That is on one of the outer rain bands, so that's interesting to note. It's heading back into the center now. That's one of the recons. Then we have the other recon.
Southeast quadrant, they're strongest, looking at that.
It does look like the southeast quadrant is the strongest.
And a bit stronger compared to that earlier recon pass as well, so...
Even though the southwest seems like it isn't very strong with the other recon.
All the western side is going to be pretty weak here.
Well, yeah, because of the wind shears, so...
But you look at that, this flight here, right now, getting some stronger winds on that southeastern side. Be interesting to see if those stronger winds are getting near the center, because that is going to be very important. Certainly it's an improvement upon that last recon flight from the other plane that went through that same area probably a half hour to an hour ago. So that is an interesting sign right now. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Again, I've got simulator imagery of I've moved to basically Port-au-Prince's airport, and the windsock here is almost fully extended. So
yeah,
that shows you how strong the wind is here. Yeah, once again, this is all completely simulated. It's actually doesn't look terrible at the minute, but I'm not sure if it's going to get better or worse from this location onwards. But the winds are incredibly strong here.
Somewhat. Certainly quite stable anyway, but yeah, looking at that satellite, it's cloudy. I don't think they're getting much rain over that area at the moment.
No, they're not.
Let's take a look now at, of course, the part that we're all waiting for, the GFS. I don't like. Some people say, "Why do you never show any other models?" We can't. This software only shows the GFS unless it's the mesoscale models in the US. That is the only reason that we only show the GFS on this section of the Tropical Weather Bulletin. But we're going to take a look around the world to see what's going on everywhere over the next 16 days. So I imagine we're going to have quite a lot to look at because, as you know, we've got systems all around the world right now. In fact, guys, whilst I'm going through these models, you might want to set up some imagery of some of those other storms around the world. I know which one Ethan's going to go to. But yep. So I'm just actually waiting a second for the models for it to come out completely here.
I've already got mine ready if you want to go to that one while you wait.
I just need a minute here. So show us what else is active out there, Ethan.
Well, of course, if I can... There it is. This is what should have been, quite frankly, a tropical cyclone 24 hours ago. Newly formed Tropical Depression 18E. Looks like it's going to become... Oh, I forget what the next name is. It's the S name.
Sonia.
I think it's Sonia.
Sonia is the next name in the Eastern Pacific.
But either way, not a threat to land over the next few days, and it's going to die out at sea. Should be fairly weak, not really going to do anything. We've also got...
Yep, so we're very happy about that.
Is it still active? Changi in the Southwest Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
Which is at 8 degrees south, really near the equator, but that's going to die soon. So nobody cares about that one.
We're ready with the full models now. I'm hearing some echoes. I'm just going to switch. No, it's coming out of someone's audio. That would be Nelson over there. We'll talk to Nelson in a... Actually, Nelson, did you have some news for us? I'm sorry. Did you want to break in?
I did, actually.
Okay.
I've just been looking at some of the news on the ground in Jamaica, and hopefully I can fill some time for you as you go through everything.
I'm ready when you are. It's just there's something important. We want to hear it.
The Jamaican Prime Minister has not declared a disaster just yet. They expect to later tonight or tomorrow. Police teams, along with public assistance teams, have been working to get the homeless off the streets in Kingston and Montego Bay. They are seriously encouraging it, but they cannot force these people to leave. The country has put in price gouging controls, but some residents are both confused on what to buy and how much of it because of the uncertainty of the frac and the storm itself, but also that stores are beginning to run out of things, bread, water, and other necessities. So if anyone in Jamaica is watching this, now is the time to make those preparations if it has not been done. Additionally, they're saying that the police will be available for search and rescue throughout the storm. I would not rely on that.
Yeah. Would never rely on that given the potential conditions. Okay, let's go through the models then right now, and thanks for that, Nelson. So, of course, we're watching Melissa. This is just a GFS. We've already looked at a lot of those other models. There it is, becoming a hurricane, and then hugging the coast of Jamaica, reaching major hurricane status there, really hanging around for quite a while. How long is that? Just over nearly 2 days, moving northeastwards, threading that gap, staying over water the whole time, actually. That is no landfall there until, yes, probably a landfall there in the Turks and Caicos Islands, still as a hurricane by that point. But once again, powerful storm, continuing off out to sea after that. And is there going to be funny business? Where's it going? It's going eastwards? Is it going to limp across the whole Atlantic Ocean? It did on some previous model runs. It's sinking southwards. It's still traceable, and it's gone. So, don't tell me it comes back. Okay, it's gone. That was Melissa. In fact, that model hasn't actually fully loaded out. Oh well. We don't need to see day 12 to 16. It only gives Wishcasters more energy. Anyway, we'll briefly see here 18E. There it is. GFS really hasn't picked up on that, actually. So it becomes a tropical storm according to it on the 27th, which is 2 days away. Well, it looks like it's going to happen a lot sooner than that, and then it dies off very quickly. Really not much to talk about there. 18E, and then...
To be honest with you, it might already be one.
Doubt. But I think it will. Western Pacific then, as mentioned, I did mark a system in this area, so watch this to see if anything forms in that next 7 days or so. And somewhere along the line, we should start to see something. There it is. A potential tropical storm moving into Vietnam. Pretty cut and dry case there. A short-lived system, but could produce a lot of rain in that area. GFS is also starting to dream about another storm near Guam. I say it like that because none of the other models are on board with that in any way, shape or form yet. What does it do with it though? It becomes a significant typhoon, in fact a very powerful typhoon there, into Samar in the Philippines and through the rest of the Visayas region, the Bicol region, and through Luzon, and of course predictably directly over Manila, and then continuing northwestwards and ballooning in size. One of those late season typhoon classics right there. Well, we're already starting to see taking shape across either side of India 2 potential systems right now, one here and one here. You'll start to see certainly the eastern one develop. There it goes. So there's the eastern system now. That's a tropical storm, relatively broad as they often are in this area. And there's the other one developing into a tropical storm as well. That's the 29th of October here. And, well, it's the one on the left that gets stronger. Hurricane equivalent, landfall in Gujarat, and then continuing slightly northwards. No, it doesn't want to stay over land and off it. And a little tiny pipsqueak storm there, working its way along the coast of Myanmar in the later part of that run. Actually reaches hurricane equivalent. That's the silly range. It isn't actually. It's the moderate range. Day 2nd and 3rd of November. Tiny system. No support from any of the other models on that one. Looking at Cyclone Chenj, or whatever it's called, continuing off there, about to die. Losing tropical storm force winds just after it passes some of the Seychelles, and then it eventually reaches some of its remnant energy will reach the coast of Tanzania in Central Africa and move inland, could provide up to around 100 millimeters of rain. There was an invest over here. It's pretty much completely dead. 95S. No sign of life there. And I don't think there's a sign of life anywhere else in the long range.
Did you have 70% for that storm at one point? 95S?
I don't think it was that high. I think maybe 60. Nothing in the South Pacific there. So, to be honest, it's actually looks like it's, unless the West Pacific does that stuff that it looks like it might do, it's going to be relatively quiet after Melissa departs the scene. But of course, things can pop up out of nowhere over just a few days, so we'll see how things go. Obviously, we absolutely have our hands full with tracking Tropical Storm Melissa right now. We're almost finished with the bulletin. After this, we'll be redirecting you to our automated stream, which is showing you all the latest information on the storm live 24/7. But any further recon updates before we proceed here? Anything else from them right now? Maury's on the case. So they didn't get any more strong winds near the center there, I'm seeing.
No. I'm looking at what pressure they have currently. Oh, it's unavailable, the pressure for
They're
that
not
recon.
getting the pressure right now.
That's unfortunate.
And the other flight, they were inbound on the center, weren't they?
Yeah. They did get one tropical storm force wind on the southwestern side, which
Just the
really
one.
isn't that much. Yeah, it really isn't much. But
Oh, they went
they
straight
did get
through.
Yeah,
Did they actually
I'm
get the
seeing
center?
990. I think they went a little bit west of it,
It looks
but
like.
they got like 993.7, about 993.7. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Well, anything else from the team right now? Because I think we're just about finished here.
I just would be aware of the changing conditions in Jamaica because I feel like this storm, it is approaching that point where we're gonna start feeling conditions change.
I wouldn't even say that. I go a step further. If you're in Jamaica, get out.
Yeah,
if
I would
possible.
definitely say get out too. But like,
I mean,
I
that's
also
that's
think
well
we should
over.
be-
That's like 2 million people that you're trying to get out, Ethan. That ain't gonna happen.
No, there's going to be some people that are always going to stay behind. And I hate to say it, but if there's going to be a large amount of people that are going to stay behind, there's going to be a lot of issues. Infrastructure is going to be down probably for months after the storm passes.
If the worst case scenario comes to fruition, which is looking increasingly likely, unfortunately. Just a final look at that National Hurricane Center cone, which looks like this, calling for a extremely powerful Category 4 landfall on Tuesday in central Jamaica, pushing through, moving northeasterly, and then moving through Cuba onto the other side on Wednesday. Tons of time still for Melissa to really take advantage of these extremely warm sea surface temperatures and explosive amounts of energy stretching down beneath the depths as well with the oceanic heat content. It's just wind shear that's preventing Melissa right now by the looks of things. Winds in the storm are remaining limited, but it does look like it is a matter of when this storm is going to rapidly intensify, and it's probably going to be soon, which means it's going to have a real crack, several days of potential rapid intensification. Thanks to my team.
If I had an ultimate guess, Nathan, I would say the storm takes tonight and sometime tomorrow morning to organize, and then come, say, sunrise tomorrow, maybe midday tomorrow, all bets will be off.
Yeah, okay. Thanks to my team there for their input tonight as well. Let's take a look at what happened on this day. Well, it was October 25th, 2012. I alluded to it earlier on in the stream. It was the day that Hurricane Sandy, very close to where this one is right now, made landfall in Cuba as a strong Category 3. Already made a hurricane landfall in Jamaica before proceeding on towards the Bahamas, and we all know what happened after that. Also active was Tropical Storm Tony, ex-Rafael, Tropical Storm Merjan in the Arabian Sea, and Tropical Storm Sontin, which was moving through the Philippines before intensifying in the South China Sea. That was on this day 13 years ago. Wow, feeling old at this point. Nestor is the next name in the Atlantic this year. In the Eastern Pacific, it's still Sonia for the time being. And in the Central Pacific, it's Lala. So far, we have seen 87 storms around the world in 2025. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Kalmegi. In the North Indian Ocean, it will be Mantha. We've got our automated stream running right now. We'll take you right there as soon as this stream ends, where you can take a look and discuss the latest with other viewers live. In the Australian region, the next name is Fina. The Southwest Indian Ocean, Dudsai. And in the South Pacific, it is Ermil. We'll have plenty more updates on the channel, and live events, I imagine, will be forthcoming over the next few days.